You and good evening, everybody.
Mm.
A fun program for you tonight. Patrick Adair is here to talk to us about some amazing technology and field work. Uh, they're, they do the
Where
field
can I
work
get?
for some work that's being done at WSU uh, by entomologist Dr. David James. But I'm going to let Patrick tell you that because I don't know much more on the details. But yes, lots of fun. WingsRising is in northern Idaho, and I'm going to turn it over to them. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, thanks for having us tonight. We are here to tell you about two stunning new technologies. And let's get to it. We are WingsRising. We're not here to talk to you tonight about WingsRising so much that other than to give you kind of an elevator a definition of who we are and why we're involved in this. We are a 501c3 nonprofit in northern Idaho, and we do really four things: science, education, restoration, and preservation. Science is like, by the way, that's a monarch egg that you see there, right there. Science is what we're doing here tonight, is to support scientists like Dr. David James to be their field support and do the logistics surrounding these kind of major scientific projects. We also do a whole lot of education. We work with the Hutton Settlement, for example, and we go to exhibits and fairs and set up flight houses where children can go in and get a little nectar stick, and then we have 25 to 50 monarchs inside that flight house, and they can go and feed the monarchs as they can. We also do restoration. That's a photo of our Idaho facility where we raise thousands of monarchs every summer. But restoration is shoveling the ground, planting milkweed and nectar plants and that kind of thing. And then our final thing is preservation, where we actually take as a trustee and overlook and manage conservation properties for the long term. Today, we're going to talk about two major technologies. One is that little item right there, which fits on it's so small and so light, it actually fits on the back of a monarch. We'll talk about that in a moment. But before we show that new technology, I wanted to give you, just so you understand what we're doing, I want to give you a little bit history of tagging. Now, ancient history, the monarch has been around for hundreds of thousands of years. And the ancestral home of the monarch is North America, southern Canada. That's been its ancestral home. It's now spread around the world to 150 countries, etc. But we were and are its ancestral home. We came along as the United States short-termer just 250 years ago. And for the first 200 years, farmers and people who were here in the spring, the monarch would just show up. And in the fall, the monarch would just disappear. Had no idea where it was coming from or where it was going at any time. In the 30s, Dr. Fred Urquhart and his wife Nora, they began to put little paper tags on monarchs and release them. And they released thousands over those 40 years. And they still didn't find out where the monarch went. So they did know one thing, which was when they release a monarch, if it was spotted, it was always south of where they released it. So at a certain point in the 70s, they hired Kenneth, well, associated in an engineer who lived in Mexico, Kenneth Brugger, and Catalina Aguado. Forgive me if I messed up her name. They started, over those 5 years period, started to interview people, communities in Mexico, get in their truck, drive around, hike in high places. They searched and searched and searched. Eventually, on January 2nd, 1975, they found the first overwintering site of the monarch in Mexico. And it was in the high olivine fir forest in the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt. That's an area that is ancient and is known for totally stable environment. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's not too dry, it's not too wet. It was a perfect environment for the monarch overwintering. It's very high up, it's 9,000 feet. So you think of Denver as 6. So you can imagine how high that is. Okay? And in August of 76, the following year, for the first time, the world was learned, because of National Geographic, where this overwintering was. That's Catalina there, by the way, the person who searched for them. And there were millions of monarchs, as you can tell. In recent years, for the last 40 years or so, we have one of the leading entomologists, frankly, in the world. He just happens to be right here in the Northwest, Dr. David James, who's published more than 200 peer-reviewed published papers on the monarch. A really world-renowned entomologist. He's right here in Washington State University at Prosser, and he started releasing, 40 years ago, he started releasing in Australia and elsewhere paper-tagged monarchs. Now, here's what's happened. Over those years, let me back up to say, since 2012, about 12 or 13 years ago, he has released, and his citizen scientists, like us, have released 31,153 monarchs with a tag, and in Washington and Oregon. And of those, 219, that's about 0.75%, have been viewed subsequent. So they're released, tagged, released, and then someone sitting in their backyard having some iced tea as it lands, and they take a photo of it, or they find it. And then what we have with that data is we know where it was released, and we know where it's sighted. And so we draw a straight line, and we know kind of generally that monarchs from Washington and Oregon generally migrate south, straight south, and overwinter in California. Now compare Idaho. WingsRising has released almost 7,000 in the last few years. In the last 12 or 13 years, there's been 11,096 monarchs released in Idaho. Only 12 have been sighted. Only 12. That's 0.11%. We simply do not know where the monarch goes in Idaho. It's a mystery. We know that 2 of those monarchs did go to California. But the other 9, all we know about them is when they were sighted, they were heading south to southeast from where they were released. That suggests they're wanting to go to Arizona or wanting to go to Mexico. And that's a major significance to science and the government, because the government classifies the monarch as two groups, east monarchs and western monarchs, based on the mountain range. And DNA analysis tells us that they're exactly the same. But anyway, who wants to get in the way of government when it decides that there's something important? So we don't know where the Idaho goes, the Idaho monarch. So here's innovation one, which I mentioned earlier. It's the cellular tracking technology. That's a female that has the tracker on it on the left, and this is a male on the right that has the tracker. Do you see it? Right there. That's the tracker. It's so small. It weighs about the size of 2.5 grains of rice, 60 milligrams. It's the equivalent of a 180-pound man, person, woman, with a 20-pound pack. It's that kind of ratio. It's not insignificant, but it's light enough for the monarch with its great wingspan to carry it. By the way, anybody knows the difference between identifying a female and a male monarch? Yeah. The little spots, yes, that's good. So the responder is saying these little spots right here and right there, one spot on each wing. That's a good way. The female has broader veins, dark veins through the wings, but the male has those two little spots. Now, men, you shouldn't get envious. Those aren't just fashion statements. They actually emit pheromones that attract the female monarch to them. So I don't know what happened to us. We got left out in that plan, but that's what those are for. So let's look at what this is. This technology is so small that it rides on the back of the monarch. In the old days when we tried this, we used batteries and they were always way too heavy. And if we got a battery light enough, it would burn out and it would run out of juice in too short a time. So this technology uses a tiny solar device, solar panel, if you will, that if the sun is shining, it will ping its serial number of that monarch and its location, GPS, every 1 to 5 seconds. It's just pinging. And it uses, the significant thing is it uses Bluetooth technology. What does that mean? It means that any of your phones that have Bluetooth technology can pick up this monarch flying by. Any mobile phone that has Bluetooth technology that you've enabled, that you've turned on, or that you have your phone keyed to maps, which is location services, or crowdsourcing, any of those that's on your phone, then that phone, if a monarch with a tag, a tracker, flies by within 1/4 of a mile, that's about a football field, your phone will pick it up and send it to central processing without you even knowing it. So there have been hundreds of thousands. It's not just, isolated tracker stations. It's a community issue, and you'll see in a moment that even your phone can be set up to track monarchs individual monarchs. But so it broadcasts every 5 or so seconds, and this is truly it's so innovative. It's truly a game-changing thing. And I had to throw this in for you folks. It's even been put on a hummingbird, and that hummingbird was released in Mobile, Alabama, went to San Diego, and then went up to Juneau, Alaska. But that's where it's going. And it's also been put on large bumblebees. So there's a lot we can learn in pollinators and their habits and their patterns and that kind of thing. But right now it's being released, and the beta was in the fall of 2025, and they released 400 of those units. The second innovation, so we know the technology, it's a tracker that actually is so light that it fits on a Monarch. Now here's the exciting part. They're both exciting, but this is exciting as far as we're concerned, is by loading a app, and you're going to see it, and we've got these flyers with these little QR codes here. You can take your phone. It's a free app. There's no anything. It's just free. You can download this Project Monarch app, and that's the QR codes. And it actually, these are some of the screens that are on the Monarch app. So on this one, oops. This one over here, far left, it has worldwide where all the monarchs that have trackers on it. And if you spread it, it'll show you all of the monarchs that have trackers. And you can tap on a particular monarch and get individual information about that monarch. Over here, second from the right, if you go on this website, and these are all monarchs that have Christine and Liz and Xerxes have all had pings today. So you can go on and say, well, where are the ones that are moving now? And you can just tap on that. Or if you guys adopt a monarch, which you'll see in a moment, and you give it your own name, then right here, you can type in the name of your monarch, and it will pull that monarch up. And if you hit this map, it'll show you your monarch and where it is. So there's real-time tracking. This is an example where this was a beta. It was released down there in the lower right corner, and that's what it did in one day. Now here's, obviously it's never before been available. Here we put some overlaying several monarchs. If you see this one here, upper left, and this one, those were released September 23rd and the 27th, and they reached the overwintering biosphere in Mexico just within 3 hours of each other. And what's important for us at WingsRising and other scientists is you see how there's a corridor that's developed here. They're not just flying all over the place. There's actually a corridor that's developing. If we can determine that out of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, particularly Idaho, then we, WingsRising, in our restoration and others, not just us, will plant and restore habitat along those corridors with nectar plants that will facilitate the monarch migration each year. So it's a very practical thing. I say adaptability to migration because look on the far right. This one right here, it just stuck with the coast and headed for Mexico. This one got released in Cape May. That's the manufacturers of the tracker. It got blown out to sea until it hit the Bahamas. And once it hit the Bahamas, it course corrected and flew to Mexico, or flew to Florida. So as soon as it got over land, its navigational system recorrected and adjusted itself over to Mexico. And we do, over to Florida. And we do think that there are unexpected jumps. Scientists believe that they'll get more. Those in Florida will jump to Mexico, will simply fly over. We have right now a number of monarchs that are leaving the California overwintering sites, and they're beginning to fly north. So if you download this app, you can actually watch them. But one came out of Natural Bridges in Santa Cruz, headed inland for a little bit, said, no, I don't want to hear. Came back over the mountains, Santa Cruz, went up the coast, and it flew straight over downtown San Francisco and across the bay, and kept going to Sonoma. It looks like it might have got hit by a car. Those things happen, but at least we knew what it was tracking, where it was tracking. You can, each one of those little dots, that's a ping. So there was a phone around and took that ping from that monarch and transmitted it. So that's how we know. But on the app itself, you can see that whole line. But if you keep spreading it and making it smaller, it'll get right down to telling you what street this is and what street this is and where the monarch is. It's right between 6th and 7th Street, north of. I mean, it's that close to you able to track it. These are some more. This is just showing you one of those. MW026 was released up there in Kansas City, and it's a male, and it traveled, what does it say, 1,370 miles. And I gave you the right screen there, where that monarch, which is coming out of overwintering now, that was just a few days ago. It was right by the river, right by the road, and you can see it's too much on the road, unfortunately, but it's flying around there. There may be some milkweed that is there, and it's attracted to that. So that's how close you can get on tracking your monarch if you want. So, how can you become a community scientist? Number one, download Project Monarch app. We'll give you a flyer, but there's other ways to do it that may be easier for you. Two, tell others about the project, because we're trying to get the community support to do this. And if you can, contribute to buying an e-tag, which is these that were. And you can do that by going to adoptamonarch.org, adoptamonarch.org, and you'll get a page like this, and you can kick in $1 or $5 or whatever you want on these two over here. And as you contribute, this little Diane just continues to fly until she reaches the other end, and then she's adopted. And the same with Dave. He's flying along as well. If you can afford, these trackers cost $200. So if you can afford that kind of donation, you can click on the far right one, and then you can name your own monarch. Name them after your kids or whatever. So you'll see that on the site, and that's Monarch, adoptamonarch.org. At the bottom of every one of those, there are those QR codes. So if you just go to the site, you can pick up the QR codes easily. Otherwise, you can pick Mindy here, a volunteer with WingsRising, has some flyers that you can grab one of those and then use it tonight. So how do you donate to this E-Tag project? You can send a check to WingsRising, P.O. Box 1005 in Athol, Idaho. Or you can go online, like I said, to adoptamonarch.org and hopefully adopt a monarch. So conclusion, your support, your engagement in this e-tagging project this is first year. This is the inaugural use of this technology. We're really very excited about it. We're going to be releasing all over Idaho primarily, but also if we get enough donations and enough units, we'll tag monarchs coming north in the spring. So we find out where they go into Washington and Oregon. So I leave you with this final thought. The smallest of deeds is greater than the grandest of intentions. I know you can't all kick in $200, but we need community support. You can talk to friends. You can tell them about the app. Just things like that. Just spread it around, and to the extent that you can donate, Yahoo. That'd be awesome. Yeah, and certainly grow milkweed. Okay, let's have some questions. Yes, sir.
Hold it, Paul. We'll use a microphone so the people on Zoom can.
When you're talking about Idaho monarchs, are you referring to those in North Idaho or Boise and
All of Idaho.
Falls?
The question is, are we only referring to northern Idaho monarchs or the entire state in southern down by Boise?
I guess I would have thought the North Idaho monarchs might travel more like the Eastern Washington monarchs to California, and the ones in Idaho Falls might go toward Mexico.
It's a good thought. We don't know what happens.
They have good.
So we'll release.
I guess.
So the observation is just that northern Idaho monarchs may track more similar to Washington, Oregon, perhaps more toward California coast, and Twin Falls and Boise and even further east may track toward Arizona and Mexico. It's a great idea. It's a great question. That's what we want to find out. So just so you know, how do we get, let's say our goal is to purchase 100 of these units at $200 apiece. We are, as of today, if anybody goes online, we are at 74 adopted monarchs. So we're closing in on our goal. And I hope some of you can help. But what we do, WingsRising, will go out in the spring. We go to all the milkweed that we can find, and we try to capture 3 or 4 DNA lines, and we bring them back to northern Idaho to our propagation farm in Athol, Idaho, and we raise them. And we cross them, raise them. We raise them all outside, and so they're close to their normal environment as possible. And then with those, we will tag and we'll release in various parts of the state. I must also say, logistics-wise, we will start to raise in northern Idaho, but when they become chrysalis, we will we'll pre-position them around the state. We have a volunteer in Boise, Twin Falls, Pincree, Blackfoot. We have people that will raise their own in those locations, and we will also supply them so that we want this tagged, e-tagged, and released within whether the same day or the very next day. As soon as the monarch's wings dry so that they can fly, that's when we want to tag and release them. So we don't want to have them all up here in northern Idaho and then have to transfer them all. We want them pre-positioned logistically in various places. There was a question here, yes.
Yeah, you know, rather than pass the
Go ahead, I'll
microphone
explain.
around,
Yeah, so the question is, once you get the app on your phone, does it have to remain open for it to work? All phones that have Bluetooth, there's two things to your answer. All phones that are enabled with Bluetooth are receiving and transmitting a Monarch if it's close by, and the owner of that phone doesn't even know it's happening. If you want to go in and track just have fun watching them, then there's two aspects. There is a button that you can actually search and seek for them, which is more affirmative, powerful thing to do, or you can just go into data and look at each monarch, and it's just a picture window into all these monarchs. So you don't have to have it on. You can turn it on and off as you want to take a look into the world of monarchs. Yep.
Which lives the longest, the butterfly or the sender? And I'd be curious how you attach it to the butterfly. And that map where the butterflies were something like 1,000 miles over water. What does the butterfly do when it gets tired?
What does a butterfly do when what?
It's not going to fly all the way up.
Yeah, several questions. Monarchs, when they're migrators, they live about 8 to 10 months. So they do the whole migration south, overwinter in Mexico or California or Arizona. And then in the spring, they start to come back. They lay eggs, and that next generation continues farther up. And they kind of migrate as milkweed comes out of the ground as the climate changes and things get warm and so on. We get monarchs in this area about the first week of June. Historically, there's so few of them now that it's harder to get them. So that's how much they last. The tracker itself can be reused and reused if you could find it. But you're close, you know within a very short space, GPS wise, where it is. You have to go out and look for it. And we could remove it from a monarch and put it on a new monarch. The last part of the question that I remember is, how do we attach it? Well, we've tried a lot of different experiments. The best thing that works is old-fashioned eyelash glue, the kind that heavy duty that will stay on even when you're swimming. So we've put a little bit of that on. Yes, in the back.
We have a couple questions from Dur. One question is, how big of a possible weed do you need to grow to sustain to attract monarchs? And what other plants can be grown besides milkweed to attract monarchs? Specifically, the question was about what grows in sungrass.
The last was what?
Sungrass is north of here.
A particular location. So how many? We've seen how big of a patch milkweed to attract monarchs? They have several 100,000 optical cells. They actually don't have eyelids. They actually see in all directions at the same time. If you've ever tried to come up behind a monarch and it takes off, it's because it sees you coming. Now, I have seen a monarch lay eggs, laid one egg on a milkweed out of the ground that was an inch tall. So they have an uncanny ability to seek out milkweed. But the optimum is to cluster in threes, cluster about 12 plants. The monarch is very refined, if I can use that term, to somehow she judges how much milkweed is needed to feed her children. So if she perceives that a plant is enough to feed 1 or 2 children, she'll only lay 1 or 2 eggs. And a stalk of milkweed is, as a rule of thumb, is good for 1 monarch. So, but if you have 10 or 12 and they're clustered, then that creates a big enough visual frame for her to actually get attracted to it, and scent-wise as well as visual. Is there any other part of that question? Well, as adults, you're really doing 2 things when we're attracting monarchs. One, we want to feed that adult because they run out of gas. They just need to be fed. And so nectar plants, all of the flowers that many of you have in your gardens are just great. Zinnias are fantastic. And those are long lasting all through both spring and fall, depending on when you plant them. But so you want to address the nectar side, the food side for the adult, but the monarch, if you don't have milkweed, you have no monarchs. It will only lay eggs and raise its young on milkweed. There's a lot of species of milkweed, and it'll lay eggs on all of them. But if it's not milkweed, there's no monarchs. Was there a second question?
Can you elaborate on the one you found, the piece of Yellowstone, the one that escaped from the Indian Trail Garden in September 2024?
Well, other than she was a determined, she was really determined. That got released in September 21st at the library here in North Spokane. And I think just 16 days later, she was all the way into the mountains. Now, she was obviously heading toward Mexico. We thought, before her, we thought that they kind of hit the mountains and then coast along the mountains to Mexico. But man, she just took off. She was a rocket. They just happened. At the library here in Spokane.
Who raised her?
WingsRising. The question is, who raised her? WingsRising raised her in northern Idaho. That was an open house that they were celebrating a new. They had converted a bunch of grass and just stuff, and they just said, why don't we make some use out of this? So they put in a pollinator garden, and we helped celebrate that by bringing over about 50 monarchs and letting kids come in. I've told you about the immersive flight houses that we set up, a flight house, and which means it's a 10 by 12, and we put in 50 or so monarchs in there, 25 monarchs, and let kids and, of course, adults, as soon as they enter, they become kids. So, and they use little Q-tips, and we put it in nectar, and then they feed the monarchs, and and hold them and that kind of thing. And then at that time, we release those monarchs. We tag them, release those monarchs, and you know, a couple weeks later, that one was found.
So is David James the same tracking studies?
He is the director of what I've been talking about tonight. And he is the director of all of those taggings that we've done over a number of years. He's been our director through all of these years, including that one. Now, Washington, just so you're clear, Washington requires permits to do that now. So we will seek permits, but it's unlikely that they will grant them. So we probably won't do releases anymore like that in Washington, unless we can get a permit. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Does it have to be planted like right with pollinators? If the milkweed is like, there's a patch of milkweed like 1,000 feet away, is that still good?
The question is locating milkweed with nectar plants, and are they 1,000 feet away? That's perfectly fine. Yeah, they'll find it. Yeah, they are more than skilled about finding it. Any other questions? Yes, in the back?
Online access to land that isn't particularly used for butterflies.
Yes. So he's asking whether I will expand a little bit on WingsRising's activity. We do work with, when I told you we had 4 missions, science, education, restoration, and preservation. On the restoration side, we work with the power line companies increasingly to repurpose some of that right-of-way that they have to go in there and plant milkweed. They're very sensitive about it, but they do allow it. When we prove to their legal people that it only grows so far and then it dies down and won't catch fire and won't grow up and hit the line, you know, all of this stuff. No, guys, it's like that. Okay, so you're good. We've been doing that. Another aspect of that is in Washington, we have a nonprofit called Monarch City USA, which has, it works environmental awareness to cities. And we have about 130 cities across the country that are learning and dedicating to do cutting like their lawns at times when the monarch is not migrating through. So they don't raise the milkweed, and then just when the monarch migration's coming, they mow it. So they can mow before and they can mow after, but don't mow it right when the monarch is coming through your town. So we have about 130 of those, and that's growing. And so these various kind of things are just education and collaboration, increasingly with Dr. James and other scientists. In the back, and I don't know how much more time we have. 10 minutes, great, okay, in the back. Well, that's important. Or you can get seeds from us and raise your own. WingsRising.org. You can contact us. You can email me, patrick@wingsrising.org. We can get you some seeds and you can grow it yourself. There are insecticides, but this is not just the monarch. This is pollinators in general, bees, hummingbirds. Farmers in the 90s, if they had an infestation of something, they used a particular pesticide for that infestation, and they would knock it out. Okay. But then came along a new family pesticides, neonicotinoid pesticides, which neonics for short. This whole family, what they do is they'll treat the seeds and it soaks up the pesticide. They plant the seeds, and then the roots and the stem and the leaves and the flowers and the fruit that we eat all has that pesticide in it. And a quarter grain of that pesticide can kill 250,000 bees. So that's why from 1990, with the introduction of these neonic systemic in the plant itself. So it's great for the farmer. I'm not knocking farmers. I'm just saying these are the facts that once that got introduced, it's great for the profit line of the farmer and his planning. So I'm truly not criticizing that, but it has a negative impact on the pesticides. So, a negative impact on the pollinator populations around that. So farmers are smart. They're trying to adjust and use different, but that has had a major impact on pollinator populations. Yes.
Monarchs in the butterfly box. The wooden one, the wooden butterfly box.
I doubt it. But do you have some? Is that what?
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The question was whether the monarch will roost in butterfly boxes. And I don't know if that's true. I doubt it. There may be something that they have in that box that will allow it. In other words, nectar plants and milkweed and different things. But as a rule, the monarch likes to go high and roost into trees overnight. And then they come down and are propagating in milkweed. And they lay eggs underneath the leaves. Yes. Yeah. So the question is, yes, there's a lot being released in Idaho, but how about us in Washington for actually seeing these being pinged? You can watch all butterflies released in Idaho and everywhere in the East and in Mexico and everywhere. Now, just so you know, Washington Department of Fish and Game in Washington has some units. Their protocol is they need to catch a live monarch in the wild, and then they'll track it. I don't know how successful they will be, but that is their program. So you may find monarchs in Washington tracked by Washington Department of Fish and Game as well. But you can track. The app will let you track. If there's 1,000 of them out there, it'll let you track all 1,000 of them. The biggest, so the question is, to what degree, if the tagging and the butterflies are outside where we are, whether or not we are here in Washington contributing to the science. The best way you can contribute to the science is help us donate to buy a unit. That will help the science enormously. You don't have to be near any to enjoy just the participation of tracking. But if you're thinking that your phone is going to ping new information, the Monarch has to be around, and you are right that that may not be, that component of the science project may not be as active for people in Spokane but we don't know what the Washington Department of Fish and Game will do. You know, when they'll find them and how they'll release them, and we don't know what Idaho's monarchs will do either. So, did you have one?
Yeah, can you clarify that what I understood you to say before is that you don't need the app. Your phone, whether you want it to or not, will ping when it gets to your Monarch if you've got Bluetooth on. Is that correct?
So the statement which I'm going to affirm, is you don't have to have it turned on for your phone to detect the Monarch if it's around. You don't have to turn it on, and you don't have to have the app up, and you don't have to launch the app. You don't have to have any of that. So the science is being captured whether or not you know it on your phone. No, you do not have to have the app. Two separate things.
You just
One
need to
is the
have
technology.
Bluetooth enabled.
One is the technology, which will be put on the Monarch, and everybody's phone that has Bluetooth enabled will be triggered with that tracking unit. Now, the fun thing is, it's the second thing. If you want a little picture window into all of that activity and have fun, download the app, and that gives you a little picture window into all the monarchs around the country and in Mexico and California. And you can actually, especially for those who adopt a monarch and name them after a kid or something, your dog or something, then you can go on every day and key that name in and actually find out where your monarch is. Now, I don't want to oversell this. That monarch could fly 50 feet and get run over by a car. It could travel all the way to Mexico, and you'll see it for months. We do not know what happens to monarchs in Idaho, and that's what we hope to find out. So it's a big logistics challenge, and that's why WingsRising is here to continue to raise community support, and it'll be a lot of fun. And if any of you want to volunteer and be part of it, you should talk to Mindy or I afterwards. We're right on the dot. You can do one more.
Southeast, how far south?
The question was how far in Idaho were those that were released and then found south or southeast, how far they were all one. Have fun, hang around. They live about 3 to 6 weeks. It's 3 minutes or more reduction every day, and the temperature gets a little cooler. That triggers the monarch to shut down its reproductive cycles, go into diapause, and migrate. That happens up this far. We're losing 3 minutes a day every about mid-August. So there you go. Okay, great. Thank you.